G'day, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be building the chassis for this, the Tamiya Super Avante on the TD4 chassis. Now this one was a gift from the RCL. Thank you RCL, top bloke. I'll leave a video up the top there for the unboxing I did. It's quite a while ago now actually. Anyway, yeah, pretty cool looking car, kinda. Yeah, it's a love it or hate it thing, I think. Anyway, on this one I'll be going pretty custom on it. Yeah, the box art doesn't do a great deal for me. Anyway, I'll just do my best and kind of make it look different to everyone else's, I hope. So we'll get this box out of the way and I'll show you where I'm at. So there we go. It's all chassis all finished, ready to run. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Good build. It's yeah, quite fun. Didn't run into any issues whatsoever. Got to be happy with that. Anyway, I've done a few different things to it. Different shocks. I'm using the aeration dampers on it. The body will come later. I'll do that in a later video. I'm still kind of scratching my head as to what to do with that. I will be keeping the guards and things. But yeah, the body I might change it a little bit somehow. Thinking maybe take the window out, go a full cage over the top, something like that. But yeah, it should be quite different. And I'm pretty sure I won't be using these wheels either. Got a couple of ideas in mind for the wheels. But anyway, pop the body off. And there we go. So basically what I've done, I've got the battery laying across this way, all the electrics down the front. I don't know, just kind of wanted to be different, and I didn't want to be undoing the front suspension, pulling the front up to get the battery in and out. I'm probably not going to drive it a lot, but that kind of pained me a little bit just thinking about it. A couple of things I need to do is I've got the battery in there, of course, as you can see, but I've got to make a either a strap or maybe Velcro or a carbon fiber thing just to hold it down, keep it firm. As it is, I think it's not going to go anywhere. Kind of slips in one way, comes back a little bit, and it's quite solid. And I've got the side plates glued on there, as you can see. Anyway, more on that later. So we'll get into it and see how we go. So you start off the build by building the rear gearbox, and it all goes quite smoothly, as you can see. And the motor I chose for this build is the Tamiya TB-LM02S 10.5 turn motor. Fits in there nicely and should be a lot of fun. So naturally I used the TD4 differential nut and screw set in the rear and the front instead of using the plastic nut. It's no good. Seen a lot of videos where they don't last long. Anyway, so thought I'd show you how I went about putting the diff together. Or at least the part about installing the diff screw and nut. Could be a bit tricky for some people with all those little balls. Basically, put a blob of grease on the bench, then dump all your little balls out on there, and the grease on the bench just stops them rolling all over the place. Then with a bit of grease on the end of your hex key, you can just dab it onto the ball, pick the ball up and put it where it should be. I usually don't use a magnetic tool when I'm doing this because it tends to grab, 4 or 5 balls instead of one. So with all our balls on there, you can grab our little washer and just slip it on. And you want to make sure there's no balls sticking out that might, fall away. So just, yeah, kind of press them in, make sure they're all snug, and off you go. Looking good. Then we can grab our diff. We've got the nut in one side there, as you can see. And just kind of slip it over the top. Now once it's over, we can just rotate it back the other way, holding our nut in the other end. Poke the screwdriver in there, then we can rotate it back the other way so the nut falls down. And we can tighten it up. Easy. And just, yeah, tighten it up to your required setting, how tight you want it. I normally just do them up quite firm. And you probably just want to check it again after its first run, after it beds in a little bit. Now with the shocks I thought I'd go something special, so I went the Tamiya buggy aeration oil-filled shocks. And there they are, they're all built up now, looking good. I used the black springs that came with the kit because I think they look quite a bit better than the white ones that came with the aeration shocks. For the servo, I'm using a Savox Digital SC1251MG Metal Gear servo. And I got the aluminium servo mounts. I actually did use them, as you can see here. Set it all up, and I had some quite thick double-sided tape underneath. Basically to stick the servo to the chassis to help prevent the flexing. And right there is when the plans all changed. I decided I'd move the servo to the other side, put the receiver and ESC in the front, and then I can lay the battery sideways across the car. Now, speaking of the ESC and receiver, for the receiver I'm using a Futaba R204GFE receiver. Now the E means that it's got an internal antenna. I really don't know why it's an E, not an I. Anyway, whatever. It's got no antenna wire hanging out, which is cool. And for the ESC, I'm using a Tekin RS Gen 3, so that should be nice with the Tamiya 10.5 turn motor. That's censored, of course. Now back to the steering servo. As you can see, I've moved the servo to the other side using some just 4 standoffs for the servo. I cut them down to 18mm. Made my own tie rod there, or connecting rod. Drilled the chassis in the bottom, countersunk the holes. So I've got 4 screws holding it down now. Alrighty, let's see if the steering works. Yep, that looks good to me. So after that, it was time to fit the receiver and ESC, and as you can see, got them in, tidied up the wiring, and the wiring going to the motor. I've got the power switch in there. I just cable tied it in. So it's all pretty neat. I put a bit of shoe glue in these holes at the bottom, you know, for the servo and things like that, just to help prevent a bit of dirt getting in there. Now for a quick test with all the electrics in. Got forward, got reverse. Now because I want to put the battery sideways across the car, I'm using this little NXE Power Super Nano Shorty pack. So it's 100C, 5000 milliamps. So now we'll have a look at how I went about making the battery fit. And the first thing you got to do is these screwed areas on the side plates, you got to grind them off. Well, I cut them off with side cutters and then clean it up with a Dremel. But yeah, the battery won't fit in right with those on there. Or you can make your own side plates, I guess. I just yeah, cut them off, cleaned them up, and then basically glued them on with some JB Weld plastic bonder. They're pretty strong. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. And naturally I just ran the Dremel around the inside to clean it up a bit, make it all smooth. So we'll give the battery a bit of a test fit and see how it goes in. As you can see, it just slides in under the center shaft there, and it's reasonably tight. You got to push it in and then pull it back a little bit. And what I plan to do here is put a bit of foam on the inside at each side just to help cushion it. Anyway, we'll fire it up, make sure it still works. So turn him on, turn the car on, wait for it to fire up, and there we go. Steering still works, fantastic. And we got forward and reverse, forward again, and brake. Awesome. As you can see, I also dremeled out this little area here for the battery plugs and the balance lead. Now I've added this little cable tie to the redundant steering piece there, just to keep the wire away from the center shaft. And I've left it loose so I can get the battery cable out. One other thing I did was add some alloy hexes, because the plastic one's just no good. From there it was time to get onto the body trimming. And there we go, it's all trimmed out, smoothed up all the edges nicely, ready for paint. Well, that's it for our Tamiya Super Avante chassis build. Another thing I forgot to mention there, the wires were coming up quite high over here. So I've just put a cable tie through those 2 screw holes for the side plates basically, and yeah, pulled them down tight so the body fits on nicely there. Anyway, yeah, so I'll go and sort out something with the battery to hold it down a little bit more firm, and yeah, get on to painting the body and probably modifying it some way. then that'll be pretty much it for our Super Avante. And we can get it out for a spin. Should be great fun with that 10.5 turn motor in there on the 2S. Might be a bit nuts, but we'll see how it goes. Should be fun. Alrighty, catch you next time.